I'd like to open the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Wednesday, April 29th, 2015. Is anybody taking this meeting? Mr. Sadik, Selectman.
Chris Murphy, Somerset Access TV, Murphy's Law.
CJ Ferry, State House Press Corps.
Yes, and?
Lynn Rocha, Freetown Cable.
Thank you very much. This meeting is to discuss performance of Ms. Diane Wallace, Treasurer of Freetown, Mass. Everybody understands that? So I guess we'll move ahead. We're going to take action relative to this meeting. So I would entertain a motion to...
Well, what motion, you haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
If I could interrupt.
Yeah.
Let's turn it to David.
Is that okay with you, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman? Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt with that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, this matter was originally set up for an executive session, and Ms. Wallace had received the appropriate 48 hours advance written notice of the executive session. I received a letter from her counsel yesterday indicating that Ms. Wallace was exercising her right under the statute to have this matter heard in open session. And it should reflect that Ms. Wallace is here with her counsel and her husband tonight. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is for you to decide whether or not there is enough to proceed to a disciplinary hearing with Ms. Wallace. As you know, she is a party to an employment agreement with the town, which has a duration of 3 years. That contract includes a provision that she may only be removed for just cause. Because the contract has a just cause provision, Ms. Wallace has what the law characterizes as a property interest in her employment, and that property interest can only be interfered with after due process is taken care of. Due process being defined as a notice of what you're complaining about and an opportunity to be heard. It's very important to emphasize that the board is not in any position to institute any discipline tonight. Ms. Wallace has not yet been informed of any charges against her. And because of the operation of the state's open meeting law, you have to have this preliminary meeting with a vote in order to decide whether or not you want to proceed to a formal hearing. At the formal hearing, it would be the town's obligation to present evidence through witnesses or documents or other things in support of the allegations against Ms. Wallace. Ms. Wallace would have the opportunity to challenge that evidence and to present whatever counter evidence that she would want to present. Tonight is not the time to be engaged in presenting evidence. It's not the time to be engaged in presenting argument. Tonight is merely your opportunity to decide whether or not you want to proceed with charges. I have said these same things to Ms. Wallace's counsel during our conversations and advised him yesterday that no discipline would result from tonight's meeting because you've not yet had a hearing. Now, you know that you had an executive session with Ms. Wallace last April 15, 2014, and at that time the board pointed out to Ms. Wallace some what we perceived were deficiencies in her performance, and those deficiencies included her relationship with town employees and people who do business with the town, vendors, retirees, citizens. There have been recent incidents where that type of behavior we believe has reoccurred. There have been other situations that attended those circumstances which raise some concern. So I'm going to recommend to you that you conduct a formal hearing. Ms. Lawless would have the opportunity, as she has had an exercise tonight, to have that hearing in public, and it would proceed along the lines that I described, with the town having the obligation to present evidence to you, and Ms. Lawless having the opportunity to rebut that evidence with you deciding whether or not there's just cause to terminate the contract. Any questions so far? So I had forwarded along to the town administrator a proposed charge letter, which I hope you have had the opportunity to read. You have to set the date for a hearing, which obviously is blank in the notice. My sense is that a 2-week period would be sufficient for Ms. Lawless to examine the charges and to assemble whatever evidence she wanted to assemble. I will tell you that we should cooperate with Ms. Lawless in being flexible on the date, both in terms of the availability of her counsel and the availability of witnesses and however that plays out. So I had also prepared a motion for the town administrator, which would move that you adopt the charge letter that had been forwarded, authorize the chairman to finalize that letter with my assistance and the assistance of the town administrator, and that we initially try to agree on a date with Ms. Lawless and her counsel as to when this would be appropriate to go forward. That's basically it.
Okay.
So at this point, the motion,
If somebody wants to make that motion, if somebody wants to make another motion, you folks are free to do what you want at this point.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
should council read the charge letter other than notice a hearing?
No, I don't think council should read the charge letter.
No.
I think we should vote to finalize the charge letter and have it delivered to Ms. Lawrence through her counsel.
Okay.
So at this point, we need I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to move that the Board of Selectmen authorize the chair to execute the notice of hearing as presented to the board by town council, and that a hearing in this matter be scheduled for the board at a time that is mutually convenient.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. So the next step, logically, is what?
The next step is I'll talk with council. That may happen in a minute or two. If he can agree on a date, we'll try to agree on a date.
Okay?
And if we can't, we'll do what we have to do to cooperate with Ms. Lawless to arrange for a date.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just want to let you know that the 21st and 22nd of May, I am not available because of medical reasons.
Okay?
Sure.
Do you
We'll
have
take
any
5 minute break.
issues with dates?
Okay.
Kind of a long way out.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I suggest that you entertain a motion for a quick adjournment for the purpose of letting council consult with this client to see whether or not a date can be arranged right now?
Adjournment or recess? Either?
Either.
I'll make a motion to have a 5-minute recess.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Take
Back to order if we could, please, so we can discuss some dates.
The council informs me that May 27th or 28th would be acceptable, and I will make whatever arrangements I have to make to be available either day. So it'll be up to the board to pick one of those days if one is more convenient than another.
Okay?
Give it time.
timeframe?
Well, I would suggest that you do it during working hours. You're probably gonna have town employees come to testify, so I think we need to make it convenient for those folks.
Okay.
Through the chair, I would suggest May 27th at 10 o'clock.
You good with that, Paul?
I have no problem with that.
May 27th at 10 o'clock works for the board.
Okay?
That is AM.
It is. And then at PM.
No, me too.
All right.
Will the board be issuing a list of witnesses or a vote or something of that nature?
Counsel indicated to me that he would be asking the question, and I told him that since you were represented by counsel, those questions should come through me.
Yes.
And I take it my direction from the board would be to cooperate with counsel to make this hearing as fair and as efficient as possible. Do I take that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I will respond to you. We can talk about how we both will handle this.
Thank
If that's
you.
okay?
That good?
That's it. That concludes it.
Okay.
That concludes it, yeah.
I do have an additional question, and that is, I don't understand how the board has taken the action it did today without deliberating about it. We don't know who made any accusations. We don't know what the nature of those accusations are. We don't know the basis of the board's decision. I don't know if the board has deliberated about this yet, and how the board can make the decision that it did today without deliberating. So either the deliberation has already occurred, or the board has made this decision without deliberating. And so we'd like to know who's making accusations, what the nature of these accusations are, and what deliberations the board has taken so far in this action.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if council believes that there's been a violation of the open meeting law, there is a procedure that he can follow to address that. As you know, most of the members of the board, this is a small town, you're personally aware of some of the events that happened, and the specifics of what the charges are will be in the charge letter that will be delivered tomorrow.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Well, counsel has indicated to me earlier that he does not want to back and forth, so I certainly respect that position and understand that position. I'm not satisfied, to answer your question respectfully, Mr. Chairman. I certainly appreciate the information, and we're not satisfied.
Mr. Jenkins?
I'm all set.
I think you're all set.
I'm all set.
I'm all set.
So do you want me here for the other items on your agenda, or how do you
Yes.
want to handle that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. That's staying?
So we're gonna move on to the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Board of Health.
Board of Health?
Board of Health. The only thing I have for Board of Health is watch out for the mosquitoes and watch out for the ticks. Because there's not gonna be any spraying, and just be careful because they're starting to come out. That's all I have for the Board of Health.
Okay, under personnel, we need a vote to appoint a temporary treasurer.
We need to discuss it. Does anybody,
Well,
any person they'd like to appoint temporarily?
we have, we could appoint Jack as the temporary treasurer. I don't think there's, we could appoint the lady that's in the treasurer's office right now as the temporary treasurer. I guess we could appoint the janitor as temporary treasurer.
Anybody we want, that's
You know?
absolutely true.
But we have to get somebody in there so we can, we're kind of stymied as far as the day-to-day operations down there. when it comes to knowing what we have in the different bank accounts. Also, as we send out vendor and payroll checks, money has to be transferred, and we really don't have a real clear picture on what's happening. So that's why I think it's imperative upon us to appoint somebody as temporary, so we can get this stuff under control.
Paul? Oh, can I, Jeff?
I'm not the chairman.
No, not really. This isn't an open conversation. This is just for the board. From my perspective, we have a person in the office that's doing the job and certainly has an accounting background and probably knows more about it than anybody else under our employment right now. So my suggestion would be leave Jessica Thomas. What do you think, Lisa?
Although I value her work ethic and I value her as an employee, she has only been here for a brief amount of time. So, you know, does she know the intricacies of what a treasurer does? I'm not sure. I know she has the support of the board, and I know she has the support of, you know, the town administrator. But, I mean, there's also a company that we could get to bring in to do that, but we are under some time constraints here. So you know the office better than anyone, Paul.
I did the job for 17 years, what, 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest concern is not knowing what we have in the bank accounts, what's been transferred, and we gotta get a handle on that very quickly. I know that they're in the process of trying to balance out the month of March, the month of March, and we're gonna be coming up to the month of April very shortly, but day after tomorrow. And we just don't have the information that we need, and we've gotta get somebody in there that's gonna have access to the bank accounts. That's the problem that we have, access to the banks. So that's, to me, that's the imperative part. So we're gonna be burying ourselves if we don't do something quickly.
I agree, 100%, so.
Well, as the personnel chair, I'll entertain a motion from either one of you.
Well, I would make a motion that we appoint Jessica Thomas, the temporary treasurer. This is a 60-day appointment,
You wanna make it a 60-day appointment?
2 months. I think it was pursuant to law, it was 2 months, temporary treasurer.
Do I have a second?
Is there a limit on a temporary treasurer?
There isn't. If, I think it's your intent to make an appointment under Chapter 41, Section 40.
That's correct.
And the statute reads that the board has the authority to appoint a temporary officer to hold such office and exercise the powers and perform the duties thereof until another is duly elected or appointed and is qualified according to law, or the officer who is disabled or absent resumes his duties. So the statute itself does not have a 60-day period.
Okay?
You would be free if you wanted to put in a 60-day period, which would allow you to reevaluate where you are in 60 days, but it's not required by the statute.
Now, let's say there was a motion to appoint an individual up until June 30th. Could we continue that as we get up to June 30th? If things aren't resolved, we can just reappoint the person or somebody else?
You could, but that would require an additional
Meeting.
vote.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
additional vote. I think I would personally be more comfortable if we did appoint Ms. Thomas, but at least until June 30th, so we can assess whether she's doing the job in the fashion that we want.
Okay.
Well, you know, I have to say, and you don't know what the status of the treasurer is.
No, we don't.
She
That's
may-
right.
She may be back at work.
That's
She
correct.
may not, but,
That's right.
you know, that's dependent on what happens at the hearing.
Right.
Okay.
So, I mean, But I wouldn't want to exceed, myself, I wouldn't want to exceed June 30th at this point in time.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye,
Aye.
and I will oppose.
You oppose?
Okay.
Then I have no vote.
You can't do that.
Yes,
You
I
already
can.
voted.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you
No,
did.
I did not.
You did.
How? I didn't vote.
2 ayes.
No, I
and
didn't
1
vote
nay.
aye.
You did.
No, I did not. No,
Okay,
so
I heard 2
I-
ayes.
I'm not voting for it that way.
I, look, I know it's only 60 days. It's a big job to put on somebody that's been here for a short amount of time. I know that there are people that are gonna help her and oversee it, and if it's just access to the bank accounts and making sure that we can get those, then, I mean, I would give, I don't know, I would give Jack access, and then I would get a company to come in and take over from that point on, until we could get a company to come in. That would be my suggestion, because but you guys already, it's fine, it can be 2 to 1, it doesn't have to be all 3 of us at the same time.
I already voted yes.
I know, I heard him too.
You know what my position is.
I do, I totally get it, and
I'm abstaining, because I think this is a vote that, it's imperative that the entire board is in agreement. So I abstain.
Well, you did vote.
When did I vote? I didn't say yes.
You
I didn't
didn't.
call the vote.
You never
I did
voted.
not vote. I said
Okay.
no. I didn't vote at all. I waited. So I did not vote.
Okay.
Okay? So I think it's imperative that the board as a whole have the same, be on the same page, because if one of us doesn't think that the person is gonna handle the job for the temporary time period, then I don't wanna go that way.
Does the board have a policy on reconsideration of a vote?
Sure.
Yeah.
Would it be appropriate to reconsider, or do you, you're the chair, if you call the vote, you call the vote.
I did. Would anybody like to reconsider their motion or their vote?
Well, my motion stands.
Okay,
I make a motion to appoint Jessica Thomas.
right, and Paul
to June
second,
30th,
right,
temporary treasurer.
and Paul second,
I
and
haven't
then,
changed my opinion one way or the other. So, do I have a second?
Well, you've already taken that vote.
right.
Exactly.
So I'm
We're
just asking if
reconsidering.
anybody is reconsidering,
Right.
and apparently, Mr. Baumgartner is not
He's not.
reconsidering, he's happy, and I'm glad you're happy,
happy.
you should be.
Yep.
You have to feel good about what you're voting for.
I do.
And, Paul, are you still abstaining?
Yeah,
Paul's still abstaining.
yeah, I am. I'm abstaining because I think it's a very important vote here, and I think that whoever we name has to have the support of the entire board of selectmen.
Oh, I would not.
This is a very, very important position that we're gonna put in the hands of somebody for the next X number of days. So if there's a difference of opinion here on the board, then I think we have to go to another issue, come up with somebody else that the whole board's gonna support. So,
All right, I'll make a motion, well, I can't because I'm the chair, but I'll step down as chair and make a motion to appoint Jack for 30 days and to reconsider the vote at the end of 30 days.
My position's pretty clear on
I
this.
know, I'm sorry, Lee.
It makes no sense to me to have someone that's done a relatively great job in the position she's been put in, not to be given the chance to run a little bit here with the ball. I think she's got an accounting background, from what I understand. She worked in a bank 7 years. She's handled the payroll and the other parts of this flawlessly. Why wouldn't we trust her? That's my question. Why wouldn't we give her the option? She's gonna be doing it under the guidance of our town administrator. I'm sure our accountant would be involved, and I'm sure Mr. Sadik would help out. So it's like we're throwing anybody to the wolves here. We're gonna give someone a chance to help move the town forward. And it's very important that we get this done.
You're talking to both of us, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. So we have another motion and no
There's
second.
no second, so that's gone by the boards.
Gone by the board, so evidently we're not gonna move on a temporary treasurer.
I think it's very important that we do move on to temporary treasurer.
Well, is there any other suggestions?
I have no other suggestions. Would you feel comfortable if the motion was for 30 days? Mr. Baumgartner's motion for 30 days, and see, would you feel more comfortable?
All right, I'll meet you halfway and say 30 days. Do I feel comfortable? No, but I will do it in order to move this forward, okay? I will again, for the record, state that I do support her. And I do think that she has the support of everybody at Town Hall. Again, it's a lot of pressure to put on somebody that's been here for 3 months. That's all I'm saying. And I wasn't part of her initial hiring, so I don't know her background. So,
I can only tell
I'll-
you this, from her resume, she's has a degree in accounting. She worked in banking for 7 years.
I don't, I don't wanna start talking about somebody, and going through their credentials.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know
No,
what I
get it.
mean, like, so, fine, we'll give her the 30 days, and I'm doing this because we need to move the town forward and we need to get by this, but again, I do have some deep, thoughts on this. So I'll entertain a motion to have, Jessica be the temporary, treasurer for 30 days.
Second.
No, I'm entertaining the motion. You can
Okay.
make it.
Well, then again, I make the motion that we appoint Jessica Thomas, the temporary treasurer, for 30 days.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Moving on. We need to vote to secure a bond for the temporary treasurer. Have a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to secure a bond
Do you
for
want to-
temporary treasurer.
Do you want to second it, Lee?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Done. Moving on to new business. Anything in new business? Anything in old business? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's over.